If I could count, I'd be dangerous. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Well, good. Welcome to our session on From the Field to the Frontline, the moment everything changed, survivor story. I am Wayne Tuckson. I have the pleasure of being the moderator for this session. Today we're going to hear from a couple of very, very special individuals. And we hear some good stories about some current activities that are going on with both of these gentlemen in their lives. I'll introduce both speakers now, and then they'll each come up and make their remarks. Our first speaker will be Mr. Rich Marty. Mr. Marty, for those of you from New Orleans, is well known to you as he wore number 84, I think it was, as a wide receiver. Well, because you were New Orleans Saints, most of us in the rest of the world don't know you because we didn't see those games.
Wait, those are my lines.
But of course, as you know, but more importantly, Mr. Marty, because of part of his personal story, is the chair and founder of the Rich Marty Cancer Fund. And this is done to raise money and awareness about cancer. And I think that's the reason we'll be hearing from him today. Our second speaker is Chief Mark Porcher Jr. of the New Orleans Fire Department. For those of you, again, probably know a great deal about the chief. He's been a member of the New Orleans Fire Department since 2010. He originally was involved with operational strategies as well as the emergency response. But more importantly, he's also been past president of the Black Association of New Orleans Firefighters. And for those of you who don't know or may not appreciate, not only do people like the chief, but all of those that he represents, they put themselves in danger to save us and to keep us safe. But unfortunately, we don't think about the second and third steps down the road. What are the toxic materials which these individuals are exposed to? So it's not just the immediate danger of the fire, but it's those things that have a negative impact or can have a deleterious impact upon them. And back in the days where some firefighters may be taking home their clothing to home, some of the smells and the materials in them also can adversely impact their families. So I think we're going to look forward to hearing some very interesting comments. I want you to keep track of any questions that you may have, because at the end of the presentation, we'll have some questions and answers. So to get us started, let's get number 84 up here to talk to us.
All right. I'm first going to apologize because I lost my voice. This is the best it's been in 3 days. So I go yesterday, I told my wife, I said, I'm really getting concerned about this summit because I was talking like this, I couldn't say anything. And so she said, you better go to the emergency room. So I went to the emergency room, and the doctor came out and said, well, what's your emergency? I said, well, I don't have a voice and I have to make a speech tomorrow at a summit. And she said, okay. And she gave me a shot of steroids. She said, I don't know if it'll help, but that's what we'll do. That's all we can do. So it has helped a little bit, so just apologize for the raspiness. And those of you, I probably played before most of you were born with the Saints. I played with Archie I came out of Penn State in 1977 as a free agent, played 7 years with the Saints and 1 year with the Redskins with Joe Gibbs and Joe Theismann and Riggins in 1984. So I had a very, very terrific career for me. Any kid's dream to be able to play in the NFL at any time. I got to play 8 years. It was interesting. I was a free agent, and back then there was 17 rounds in the draft. The draft, of course, is tonight for those of you football fanatics. I may be one. Yeah, I know. We'll see what the Saints do tonight. But anyway, there was 17, and I wasn't going to get drafted. So I was a free agent, and so you get to choose whatever team you want to go to. So I had one criteria. You got to remember now, this is the late 70s and the early 80s. So late 70s, the Saints, and so I had one criteria. I said, I'm going to go to the worst team thinking I'd have the best chance to make it. So, Mark, you weren't here then, but I made the Saints. I came down here, and my starting salary in 1977, you're going to laugh, was $24,000 a year. The minimum salary was $18,000. Today it's 800,000. Yeah, I know. I wish I knew some of these guys now. And but still, we would have played for nothing. And all the guys, and I know Arch and a lot of my teammates are either passing or they're, they can't walk, or we have all kinds of issues. All of us have gone through things. But to a T, every one of them that we ask, would you do it over again? We'd play for nothing. That's how much we love the game, the guys. Hopefully today it's like that. I don't think quite as much. When you're making $3 or $4 million a year, it changes the attitude a little bit. But I still enjoy watching them play, and hopefully the Saints will get back on the winning track, and I think they will this year. I want to tell you a little bit about how I got into the cancer world. 1978, that's my second year, we learned that my dad had contracted oat cell lung cancer. Now, oat cell lung cancer back then, it was a 5% recovery rate due to smoking. He was a heavy smoker. He was a carpenter. I remember working with him and tearing down old up attics with all the asbestos flying around, no masks, no nothing. Nobody thought about it. So he succumbed a year later to cancer. Actually, he died of pneumonia. He got down to about 90 pounds. And so at that point, I wanted to really do something in the space. And I was playing at the time. So what we started was the Marty Challenge. And the Marty Challenge, one of the first programs in the NFL. The Marty Challenge was, I was a special teams guy. So I ran kickoffs and punts back, and I was on all the coverage teams. So the challenge was every yard that I ran back on a kickoff or a punt, I donated $1 to the American Cancer Society. Every tackle I made, I donated $10. Remember, I was only making $24,000 a year, so today it's a little different. And so I challenged the community, and we had such a tremendous fan base back here. The support we got was phenomenal. We were raising $30,000 or $40,000 to the American Cancer Society back then. Their whole budget for the city was about only $200,000. So we had a pretty major part of that. And learned along the way that we had no control over the money. It was leaving the state of Louisiana, going to administrative costs. So in 1981, we decided, you know what? We're going to do our own 501c3 nonprofit organization. All the money's going to stay in the state of Louisiana, and we're 100% volunteer, by the way. I don't take any fee. Nobody that works for us takes any fee. Our major fundraisers over the years have been a golf tournament, which I started in 1979. We did that for 26 years at English Turn. And Katrina came and blew that up. And there was an overlap. We did a tennis tournament, the Marty Tennis Classic, which we just finished this weekend. It was our 39th annual tennis tournament. Our big, yeah. I know some of you are not that old, are you? Raise your hand if you're under 39. Okay. Nobody's lying in here. So those are our big fundraisers. So when we started the foundation, the Marty Foundation, our mission, initially I wanted to build a research center. I wanted to do all this stuff, and everyone said, Rich, no, it's not going to work. So we wanted to touch as many cancer patients directly as possible. I didn't want to be in any bureaucracy. I didn't want to be part of any foundations, other hospital foundations. We wanted to be separate, independent, but I wanted it to go as closely directly to the patients as possible. So our mission was early detection, education, and individual needs, which we don't really advertise because it's a black hole. There's so much, and particularly in Louisiana, we have some of the highest cancer rates in the country. If you have lung cancer, it's the third leading cause of death in our state. It's really, really ugly. So we wanted to get funds to go directly to the patients. So I was at that time in 1980s, early 80s, on the East Jefferson Hospital Foundation Board. And we were raising money and doing things. And we came up, I don't know who came up with the idea, but someone mentioned a mobile screening van. So there was none in the South, by the way, in 1989. So we purchased the mobile screening van back then. It was $300,000 or so for the mobile screening van. It was called the SEED program. CEED is Comprehensive Education and Early Detection. Now, you hear about this early detection is like the biggest thing in the world now, prevention. And we've been doing it for a long time, just our little foundation. So that's been on the road. Now it's not on the road. But in 2025, just recently, which I'm going to talk a little bit more about, we purchased the first, helped St. Tammany Hospital. We were the lead donor of $500,000 to St. Tammany Hospital Health Systems, and we have a mobile lung screening unit that is now, it's been out since May. It's done. I've got some stats here. I got a couple of handouts. Well, thank you. And you're thanking me because I'm here, and I certainly appreciate that. But there are a whole lot of people that have been generous and given us funds along the way that have helped our cause, and I want to thank all of those people in our community that have done it. I've had a great platform being an NFL player. Well, I'm not anymore. I'm an ex-NFL player. But I've had a tremendous platform, so it's helped raise a lot of money. But we've had great support in our community. So we did that van, and I have some stats for that. Since May, they've done 947 screenings. They had 5 positives. So they've saved, basically, one was a stage 4. And we're hoping that's a positive thing at the end of it. But we've saved 5 lives. If we saved 1, I'd be thrilled to death. We've saved 5 so far. The plan is to do, and that's since May, the plan is to do about close to 2,000 screenings. That's how we wanted to leverage our money, touching as many people as we can, educating them. And if you get this screening, it's a low dose screen from your neck down. It not only does the lung, it does cardio, it does bone density. So people go in there, it goes to the site. A lot of people don't want to do that. They don't want to know. They're not going to come to the hospital, so we got to go to them. We got to educate them. But they can go in there, they can get a screen in less time than it takes to order Chick-fil-A. 7.5 minutes. And they get the results in 24 hours. It ties into AI. They get their results immediately. So if there's anything there, we're on it. St. Tammany Hospital's on it. So we're really proud of that. And St. Tammany's done a phenomenal job with this. They were doing it in-house already, so I thought it was a great marriage to have the mobile unit for them. Our foundation also does a lot of things. We've funded Ochsner Hospital, their programs, precision medicine, which is incredible. Dr. Matrana is over there, has done a phenomenal job. The blood work that you can get now that tell you if you're predisposed to cancer. You can get a blood test to do that. Even a colorectal, what is that called? A colorectal test. Yeah, that's out of my range. I don't know. We have a colorectal doctor right here. I should know what I'm talking about. Sorry, doc. You can get a blood test now instead of that, and just like a PSA. If there's any positive, you go to the next stage. So they're incredible where medicine is going. So we just have to do our best to defer some of these serious cancers, like pancreatitis. I read an article just this morning about pancreatic cancer. They've got some things that are, it's a 6-month death penalty for the most part when they find it, because it's just like lung cancer. They find it late, but they found something that may be double the length of life. Another 6 months doesn't sound like a lot, but in 6 months in our medical world, you don't know what they're going to come up with. So we've got some great things happening. We just got to educate people and educate the medical community to be able to start using some of the things that are out there. So we provide we provide Ochsner with funding. We provide Mary Bird Perkins. We have an endowment with Mary Bird Perkins for free screenings, prostate screenings specifically. We do EJ Hospital, of course, Children's Hospital, which is now Manning Hospital. The guy I played with, super incredible family, generous family, done some phenomenal things. The kids Eli and Peyton are off the chart. So proud of what they're doing as well. He's been my mentor. So I watch him, and it's easy to do the right thing when you have someone like that in front of you. And then St. Tammany Hospital, of course, we just committed the van. It was not, we were the lead donor in that for $500,000, but our $300,000 van was about $2.5 million. and what they have now. And part of that $2.5 million total package, they have insurance for people, they have insurance money for people that can't afford it. And so anybody gets diagnosed in there, they're going to get treated one way or another. And that has to be part of any program that we do. We find out you have cancer, we have to be able to do that. And, and each year, this is really touching, and I get so emotional about this. Each year I ask all those hospitals before we give them funding, I say, what's your greatest need? What do you guys worry about all the time? What are you looking for? And you know what they tell me? They tell me we need gas cards. Gas cards. Because many people in our community have to make a decision whether they're going to eat dinner or they're going to drive to their infusion center to get their medication. And the thing that touches me the most, we have our tennis tournament at a high-end tennis club. It's over in Covington. For those locals, it's the Stone Creek Spawn Club. It's a tremendous place. It's high-end, very wealthy community. And within, I don't know, a quarter of a mile, that people can't afford to get to their infusion center. I mean, they don't realize that. And so it's our job to educate everyone to be able to get them on board, to support some of these people that just have nothing. And so that hurts me. And if we have one person, that's one too many. So that's what we're doing. And I have one saying, and I'm going to finish up. I don't want to take all of Mark's time, because Mark's got like an hour speech he's got prepared. He's going to, no? I got it, okay. One of the things that I always say, you know, nobody can help everybody, but everyone can help someone. And whether it's $5, $500, whatever the number is, even if it's just your time. These cancer patients go into the infusion thing, they just want to talk to somebody. Whatever you can do, your time is so valuable to some of these patients, and they're on borrowed time, many of them. So it's a feel-good thing for me, and I know it would be a feel-good thing for all of you. So I'm going to extend that invitation for all of you to do that if you can. Thank you very much, and we'll get a panel going in a few minutes.
Good afternoon. Not sure how I can follow up Rich Malty here, but thank you for your service and everything that you've done, and we appreciate it. So as a first responder, we face many challenges, from structure fires to hazardous materials, even on medical calls. And I know we're here for lung cancer, so in that aspect, we owe a lot of credit to Garrett Morgan, of course, the guy who created the traffic light. He's also responsible for creating the safety hood, also known as a gas mask, which translated to SCBA, which we call a self-contained breathing apparatus. So every time we respond to a fire incident, we wear this breathing apparatus to help protect us from breathing in the carcinogens that are produced from the fire. So we're protected in some ways from breathing in a lot of those harmful toxins. However, we still are exposed because of the gear we wear, our PPE, which we call personal protective equipment. And our department has been done very well in creating policies and creating things in place to help take away or diminish some of those harmful toxins. And one of those things is decontamination. So once we respond to a fire and we send our members to rehab, prior to going to rehab, what we do is we make sure that we wash everyone's gear off with soap and water, and we try to clean every area, especially around our neck, our face, and that kind of limits the amount of exposure that we have as well. And the department has done real well as far as the fire service in general in helping to diminish these contaminants for us. And one of the also things that we have done since 2018, we've purchased new apparatus. And these apparatus are diesel engines, but they have DEF, which is diesel exhaust fluid. And this fluid is responsible for diminishing the amount of emissions that can cause cancer. So All of our apparatus, or if not 99%, are equipped with this fluid to assist us with that. And so it all starts with just being able to understand what we're responding to. It's important for us to educate ourselves and just work on prevention. Like you said, early detection is the key. The Louisiana legislature, they have created a bill, they passed the act to where cancer screenings are now provided for active and retired firefighters. And so we owe a lot of credit to our legislature for that. And we also have the heart and lung bill. And with the heart and lung bill, we are covered if we are ever diagnosed with any heart disease, any form of cancer, which unfortunately for us as first responders, we are 9% more likely than a general population to be diagnosed with cancer. And of course, with that comes, we're more likely to pass away from being diagnosed with cancer. So it's very important that we obtain these cancer screenings and we make sure that we're making ourselves aware so that we can be, be there for our families. We enjoy our careers. However, we want to live past at the end of our careers. We want to enjoy our retirement. So it's important that we make sure that we stay on top of things and we do what's necessary in order for us to live our lives to the fullest. Let's see here. And we also have the Firefighter Cancer Support Network. And this provides a lot of information for us as far as research and different studies. And it explains a lot of things that the many cancers that we're exposed to, ranging from testicular to pancreatic to mesothelioma, stomach cancer, brain cancer. So we're exposed to all these different types of cancers. Unfortunately, within, I would probably say, the 4 years, we lost 2 people to brain cancer and stomach cancer. So it's too much, right? It's something that we want to prevent. So we are working on ways to help mitigate that, but with our profession, we're going to always enter harm's way. So it's on us to do a better job, and the fire service is working towards that. Some fire departments have created initiatives where they have a clean cab. So we ride in our fire apparatus. However, our PPE that we wear into structure fires are no longer enter into the area where we sit. Because once we sit in those seats and everything around us is exposed. So in order to prevent that, they keep those in a separate compartment on the outside of the apparatus. So that's one of the initiatives that the fire service or some fire departments are working in general to assist with that. And also a second set of PPE as well. So that helps assist while we wash in that first gear that may have been exposed, and that helps us with prevention as well. And we also have the National Firefighter Registry. With this registry, all firefighters are encouraged to sign up, and that's volunteer, whether your career, and it keeps track. It keeps track of your medical history and your cancer diagnosis, and it compiles a study so that we can work towards prevention. So that's basically, in a nutshell, that what we would do as first responders and how we're exposed and the things that we're working towards in order to work on prevention and early detection and education.
Thank you very much for those wonderful insights. If you have, this is a time for question and answer, so if you have any questions, if you'll raise your hand, I'll work my way over towards you. But first, before we get there, Rich, and I hope you both don't mind me calling you by your first names.
I've been called a lot worse than that.
This ain't the ain'ts.
Remember, I was in the locker room a long time. They call us everything.
By the way, I do remember you when you played in Washington. I'm originally from D.C., so I did. I kept wondering why I recognized you.
That was a great experience. Joe Gibbs is super.
Just being in
Great
Washington,
coach.
D.C. Stadium. So, but anyway, having said that, Rich, would you tell us, there are a lot of organizations that are out there seeking our money. You mentioned something about the American Cancer Society, and you did not continue to support them. You're not alone in that, because of how money is spent. So what criteria should we use when we get phone calls from the Lymphoma Leukemia Society, from fight colon cancer, fight any other organizations? Is there something we should look for about how money is being used?
Well, it's a great question. And, you know, major corporations tie into the big organizations because it's easy. It's got a reputation, American Cancer Society. But you really have to look at how they're spending their money. I mean, all that's public information. I mean, it's hard reading some of the financials in these big organizations, but you got to see where they're spending the money. Go see what they're collecting, and see they have to file tax returns. You can get that online. Now you can get anything online. So I think that's the first step. I mean, we have a lot of small organizations. At one time, we tried to pull some small organizations together because you have, and there's just more power in numbers. And, you know, we have an organization called CAGLA, if it's okay to bring that up. CAGLA is the Cancer Advocacy Group of Louisiana. I'm the vice president. Chad Landry is the president of that organization. We're a 501c4. And what we do is go to Baton Rouge to change some of the insurance laws to be able to pay for things they should be paying for cancer patients, like maybe a second mammogram after 40 years old, things like that. I'm proud to say we've passed 14 laws. We're 14-0. We obviously hadn't hit a real nerve yet in the insurance industry, but yeah, I'm proud to say that. But my point in bringing that up is that we pulled 5 organizations together. The Rich Marty Cancer Fund, the Karen Stahl Foundation, a cancer survivor as well, the Kim Gross Foundation, a cancer survivor, the Chad Landry Foundation, a cancer survivor, and the Al Copeland Foundation. Al's a great guy. His dad died of Merkel cell cancer. And if you know Jimmy Buffett, any Jimmy Buffett fans out here? I'm not either. Boy, nobody raised their hand. I'm not a Jimmy. I don't. Oh, they're Jim. Jim's a Jimmy Buffett fan.
You got to read your audience, sir.
I know.
This ain't a Jimmy Buffett crowd, man.
but he died of Merkel cell cancer. Al Copeland, the Popeyes guy who invented Popeyes, right? At 60 or 62 years old. Al Copeland Jr. committed on his dad's deathbed. He said, "Dad, I'm going to find a cure." And damn it if he didn't. He raises a ton of money every year because he's got great exposure as well. So, and he found a cure, and he's continuing to fight for that and raise money for that. So he's in our group. That we started that foundation with those people. So when we go to Baton Rouge, we have 44 oncologists on our advisory board. And when we first started talking about this, we said, and no offense, Doc, but we said, we'll never get 44 doctors to agree on anything. They're all going to be have their own ideas and what to do. This is going to be a nightmare. And it was kind of like that, what was that song, We Are the World, when they brought in all those musicians and everybody left their hat at the door, their egos at the door, and they all work together. When we go to Baton Rouge, we rent a bus, we bring however many doctors can make it. It's very difficult because they usually, when they bring these bills to the floor, they give you like 15 minutes. They say, oh, what's going on at 10 o'clock? You know, maybe the day before. And so we get a handful of doctors to go on there and explain the bill to the legislators. Don't get me talking about legislators because there's a few in here. I'm going to be nice. But, you know, we go through that process, and we have a great ambassador in Kurt Talbot, who's on the Insurance Commission Board up in Baton Rouge, who's been extremely helpful, and some other allies up there that have been extremely helpful. So we've been very successful. But it goes back to pulling the groups together. Yeah. And then knowing where the money is being spent. I think that's really the key.
Yeah, that's probably one of the most important, pulling together. Chief, 2 questions. One, along that same lines, this one isn't about cancer, but we oftentimes get phone calls about donating to firefighters and all that. What is the gauge we should use for who's a legit and who's not a legit? Is there?
Well, as far as donations go,
don't worry, nobody around. We're not going to say anything outside
right?
of the room. Go ahead.
However, we do try to raise money for muscular dystrophy. So that is one thing that we do raise money for. Another one is for Red Cross. And from there, you know, if Red Cross supports families after incident or fires, anything like that, you know, make sure they have housing, whatever they need, whatever support their needs. The muscular dystrophy camp, I believe there's one in northern Louisiana. So basically, a certain amount of money goes to this camp. It's funded for kids to enjoy themselves who normally don't have that normal life, right? So it just gives them an opportunity to be around others like themselves and just do some fun activities.
But we want to support those firefighters you were just talking about who have had damage to their lungs or others and can't function. How do we help those folks?
That I would have to do more research on. I do know that the state does provide benefits fully for them.
Okay.
So there may be some type of state donation that may be able to be made, but I do know that the state supports those families.
You talked about some of the, Chief, you talked about some of the precautions that you take to isolate you from the clean cab. What are some of the things we can do in our homes to minimize exposure to environmental toxins that may predispose us to development of lung cancer? Particularly things that may burn, for instance.
That's difficult. Nowadays, everything is made with plastics, different hydrocarbons, so it's really difficult. You know, things aren't made the way they used to be made. They're not as naturally resourced and put together as they once were. I would say be as safe as possible. I would not burn inside your house, or you know, carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide is a really major thing. That it's a smokeless, odorless, tasteless type of gas, and many people die from that. And that's normally where you may have a generator that produces some type of exhaust inside your home, but you're not going to smell it, you're not going to see it, and that's an issue that we've had in the past, especially when we have storms or hurricanes.
Yes.
You know, power's out, we've running generators and things of that nature. So I think it's important to just be mindful, make sure you're monitoring your gas stove, make sure it's lit properly, all your gas appliances, and just I would do safety checks every so often.
Okay. Rich, could you tell us, the people who you're serving with the mobile screening program, how many of these are either underinsured or uninsured? And is that a population which you are trying to reach, or you're trying to reach anybody?
No, that's a great question, and that's what the target is. People that really are not going to come, that don't have the resources to get to the hospital, don't have the, always worry about who's going to pay. Can't afford to get, if something happens, I can't afford to do anything. So we reach out to most of the rural areas. That's what the mobile unit is ideal for. So, we're reaching the served.
Okay,
in
so
many cases.
putting in a shameless plug for the next session we're going to have, what happens if a patient is found to have a diagnosis of or to have something suspicious for cancer? Who covers that? What do you tell that patient to do at that point?
Well, I mentioned earlier when we did the mobile unit, lung unit, part of that funding to put that program together goes to the uninsured. So there might be $1 million in that fund. Obviously that's never enough. So they're always raising money for that, and the hospitals do that. They have funds now for that, but it's still some of these treatments. You might spend $1 million on some cancer treatments over the course of time. So, you hope you catch it early, where it's not only curable but affordable. Okay. And so, but we do have funds for that. The hospitals do have insurance funds for people that can't afford it or don't have insurance.
Chief, we heard earlier today about Cancer Alley. Now, these are not areas that are remote, but people live near these things. You talked about some precautions that you take. Are there precautions that we can take to minimize our exposure to some of these toxins that you may be aware of, or is it just, are there filtration systems we can put in our homes? Are there anything that you can kind of guide us that you may consider because of your exposure as a firefighter?
I think that would be difficult for us. Like I said, we have equipment to assist us when we respond to those incidents. Cancer Alley, that's difficult because that's where people live. So other than maybe wearing some type of protective mask, which can filter out some things, that I would have to do, find out more information on. But I think that would be a start.
Are there early warning times? For instance, are there things that can be put in to mandate if there is a unintentional, I'll put it that way, release of some chemicals which we know can be toxic to us? Are there things that we can do if you get that kind of a heads-up warning? Any particular types of things you might wear?
So if there is some type of toxic release, the biggest thing would be to shut off your HVAC system.
Shut it off.
Yes, shut it off to prevent and try to seal, close any doors, windows, and make sure you can seal off incoming air as much as possible, just to prevent that exposure from coming inside your home.
You mentioned Cancer Alley. And
Please.
Of course, the chemical companies have their own reports about that, which are, it's just tough to fight against the chemical companies. But we had one of the representatives from that area come and speak to us at CAGLA. And I want to say about 80% of the residents there have gotten cancer one way or another. And so it's in the water, it's in the air. You got radar, it's a radar, that gas that comes up from the ground. I mean, it's the environment, clearly. But you just, sometimes you just can't beat the big boys. But, and I don't know how you'd stop that. I mean, you're right. You can't avoid that. You're living in that environment. People can't afford to move. And they've been there, their families there, they've been there for generations. And it's just a very sad situation in that.
I want you each to think about I want you each to think about a take-home point. Are there any other questions? Yeah, yes, ma'am. Please stand. I want you to stand in all your glory.
Hi, I'm Shirese Pompey. I thank you so much for what you are doing and to support cancer patients. I do have a question for Rich and probably for thank you, I appreciate it. I got my notes. I have a question for you in regards to, you mentioned something about gas cards, and I want you to know how helpful that is. I'm a 12-year non-small cell stage 4B cancer patient right now. Thank you. And I'm telling you, my husband and I, custodian, retired teacher, when it came to the transportation to and fro from my, what do you call that, treatment, the trial participation, I get very nervous, like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do in regards to getting there back and forth. Angel Mercies, I think that's an organization under the American Cancer Society. Some kind of way, Angel Mercies, they have a red tape that made it so difficult to get access to a gas card. Or, so what is your process, and is there red tape galore?
Well, great question and a huge issue. I mean, look at your insurance. When you get denied insurance, how many people have the patience and the determination to get through and get what's owed to you from an insurance thing? They make it so difficult. You do this, they delay it, they don't pay it. Sometimes it takes a year. And I can tell you, honestly, I'd be broke if it wasn't for my wife, because I don't have the patience to go through all of the gyrations to get you the money that's owed to you. That's what you pay insurance for. The gas cards, when you get into these big organizations, it sounds great. We got this gas card available, but you got to give your firstborn to get it, right? I mean, it's just horrible. So what we do, we give it to the hospitals, and so the hospital and with a directive that says, I want, number one, I want our names on these gas cards. I want people to know that there are other people out there helping them and that they're available. And they're very generous with them. That's why they ask every year for more gas cards, because they give them out. And they make it aware, they make the patients aware. And they qualify them too, because people can take advantage of any program, and they pretty much know. So we do, again, try to get directly to the patient as quickly as you can. The bigger organizations, it's just tough to get through all the mess.
It's a real shame that they're not.
It really is.
All right, well, gentlemen, you've had a moment to think. So I'll start with you, Chief, since he went first before. What is the big take-home point that you would like us to have as we're thinking about your comments?
Well,
Meanwhile,
I think
the
it needs-
house
I
is
think it
burning
needs-
down while the chief is thinking for us.
I think just more awareness, community-wise, it needs to be made more aware of just what we respond to, right? Especially when it comes to tax dollars, donations, and things of that nature. So it really matters, and it's important for us in our careers and fire service as a whole. And we're really grateful. I'm grateful for you all having me here, and I'm looking forward to connecting with you all and building that relationship to help educate more people.
Well, we're actually, sir, it is we who are grateful for you. And I want to ask you something what Rich had said, that all of the people with whom he played said to a man, said, they do it again, they do it for free. What drives a guy to do what you do? And what do you tell that 5-year-old African-American kid who sees you in all of your glory and says, I want to be this guy? What can we tell our children and grandchildren about that?
Well, for me, it started at that age. I would encourage them to do it. I would also encourage, be honest about the risk that you're going to see. But it's a very rewarding career. You're able to help many people, and you're making great friends. I have my brother here. He's here on behalf of me to support me, and it's a very rewarding career, and I would encourage him to do so. It's amazing. I wouldn't change a thing.
Well, thank you again, sir. Rich, what's your take-home point, sir?
I'd like you to remember my name. Most of you weren't around when I played. And I bought a couple of pictures just to prove it, because if you don't know how to do the internet, I have a couple of pictures to prove it. I also have about 10 copies of the van and some guidelines on getting checked out. So if there are not enough, I'm sure we can get some copies made for you. So I'll leave them at your access. For me, it's education. I mean, every year we honor someone at our tennis tournament that has cancer, unfortunately. And one year, we had a lady that had a little spot on her hand, 35 years old, 4 children. It was 2 months before our tournament. And by the time we got to our tournament, we usually bring them in and they speak and they just tell them the deal. By the time we got to the tournament, she was at MD Anderson. A month later, she passed. Just a dot, a spot from the sun, melanoma, so deadly. Her husband came and spoke at our tournament, and of course there wasn't a dry eye in the house, and he emphasized, in tears he emphasized, go get checked, learn, look for the signs, do the breast thing. I mean, there's cancers that have early detection are curable in a heartbeat. There's some maybe not so, but colorectal, the breast cancer, lung cancer is a lot more difficult, but just get educated on this and just be looking, check your body, particularly the older we get, and now not so old. I mean, there's lung cancer in 30-year-old, 40 years old. And lung cancer is the most difficult thing to raise money for, because people think, well, quit smoking. Well, guess what? I mean, people get lung cancer and never smoked a day in their life. They've either been around it, the secondhand smoke, or they've been in the environment. So just be educated. Read about it. The internet is just gold of information. And there's so many great things out there in the medical community. So just stay on top of it. Check your body. Check your kids. Check your family. And that would be my biggest takeaway.
Thank you very much. Let's give a hand to our panelists, please.